In my last video, I showed you step by step how I made this particular workbench, and in this video, I'm going to cover the vices that I installed on it. Now, I've got a quick release cast iron vise on that side used as a tail vise. I've got a leg vise right here that you can see, and you can't really see it, but on this side, I've got a twin screw pipe clamp style vise, and the front jaw is quick release and removable, just slips into place. This works very well for wider panels, and it's budget friendly because it uses just pipe clamps for the vise itself. I do have plans available for the workbench, for the vices, and the 4-drawer cabinet that I will eventually put down below. I'll cover the cabinet in the next video. But if you're interested in the plans for this, I have them in imperial and metric versions. There's a link down below. You click on that link and you'll find the plans. But anyway, let's get down to business, and I'll show you exactly how I installed these vices. So this vise is very heavy. I dropped it the very first time I took it out of the box, and I chipped some paint off the bottom of it. Not the end of the world, but it was kind of a bummer. So to install it, it's super simple. Just line it up where you want it, clamp it in place, drill some holes, and insert some lag bolts or lag screws. And that's it. These are the easiest vices to install. You just bolt them on. They're commercially available, and that's that. Not much to this one. So it's actually been about 2 days since I installed this vise, and I've added some temporary 1.5 inch thick jaws to this thing. It's just some scrap from the workbench, and I'm not exactly sure if I'm going to leave these on here or make something different, because I'm not exactly sure where the dog holes will be when I put them in the table. If I use the actual pop-up dog with the vise, I'll have to bring them in about 6 inches or so, and I don't know if I wanted them that far into the table or if I want to thicken up this movable jaw and put a dog in it so I can keep it about 2 inches or so from the edge. I'm not exactly sure, but I guess I can figure that out in time. For the horizontal twin screw vices, I'm using pipe clamps. They are very inexpensive. I've been using this particular system for a couple years now, and I absolutely love it. And because it is pipe clamps, it is quick release. So you can use them very fast and efficiently. Now, I'm using 1/2 inch pipe clamps. I've never thought any time that I've been using these setups that, man, I wish I had more power for the clamping force, and I wish I would have went with 3/4 inch pipe clamps, which are more expensive. So I'm sticking with these. The only downside to this particular vise that I already have made is the work table that it's attached to. So it's very annoying when you're trying to work on something and the whole system is wiggling around. So that's why I'm using this vise setup on the workbench. For the leg vise, I picked up a really nice hardware kit from Dima Gamma Unov here on YouTube. He's got a video showing you how to make your own hardware kit, and he's also got some of these complete hardware kits available. So if either one of those interests you, I'll post links down below to his video showing you how to make one. Be sure to subscribe to his channel, by the way, when you're there. He makes some really cool stuff, as well as the completed hardware kit if you just want to pick one up like I did. But before I can mount any one of these vices, I need to go ahead and make both of the jaws. I very carefully flipped the workbench over. This is the leg opposite of the leg vise, and I've already installed one of the pipes. Now let me show you how easy this is to do. So this piece right here, this lower piece, is going to determine the spacing in between the pipes. So if you want more space, you make this piece longer. If you want less space, you make it less. I've got 23 inches in between the pipes the way that this is right now. So this gets screwed down into place like so. Now that this is mounted, I'm using a couple nails as shims. These are just little finish nails. I'm going to use it as a shim to space the pipe out just slightly and then put the other bracket on the other side. Now I can remove these shims, and these will just prevent the pipe from binding as it's pulled in and out. This gives it just a little bit of wiggle room, which is fine. Now, as you can see, I cut this one a little bit not as deep as it should be, but that's okay. It's not going to matter any. But this should have been the same width as this. Now I can install the cap. But before I install the cap, just want to tell you that the height of these is determined by placing the pipe flat on a work surface, and whatever the distance is from the top of the pipe to the work surface, that's the thickness of these. That way, once this is flipped upside down and gravity is pointing in the other direction, this will hit the bottom of this cap, and then the pipe will remain parallel with the bottom of the workbench. So, as you can tell, this gets glued on now. To attach the rear jaw of the pipe, I drilled 2 holes in here and it'll just be screwed in place. Now, make sure that the placement of these is facing out so that on this side, it's easier to reach around this way and then deactivate the pipe clamp like so. And then on the opposite side, make sure it's on the outside as well. So that way you're not reaching in around the jaw to go to this other side. Every single time I've used pipe clamps for vices, I've always found it best to drive the screws in to hold the rear jaw and then back them out slightly just so that this can wiggle just a little bit. It'll prevent binding in certain situations. So technically speaking, once the pipes are mounted, the vise is done. This is a very, very simple way to make a very strong vise. I'm going to make a little bit nicer front jaw for it, but just as a demonstration, you could use a piece of 2x4. It really doesn't matter. And mount whatever you want in it, whether it's thin stock like this. I was adjusting the appropriate size here before I put this in place, but whether you're working on thin stuff like this, it's not going anywhere, or wider panels for like the side of a cabinet or something, whatever you got to do to them. This is not going anywhere. So you can use a 2x4 if you want, but I'm about to make a little bit nicer looking jaw. Better than a 2x4, absolutely, but not by much. This is just a chunk of 2x10 notched out so that this can be quickly and easily removed and set into place. Nothing fancy, but very, very functional and budget friendly. This is just a, like I said, pipe clamps, and it does the job really well. So I also angled the top face like you typically would see in a leg vise or a moccasin vise type setup, and that's so that you can get in closer to your work if you're using a saw on a 45-degree angle or so. But this one's done. Now let's work on a leg vise. So the leg vise here turned out really well. It's nice and clean. I do have one knot on the outside face, but it's going to taper down a little bit towards the middle. As you go down, that'll be cut off. The inside face, which no one will ever see, has got a couple knots in it, so if you don't care, I don't care. This one may show through on the side as I put a taper on it, but no big deal. But I need to drill the screw hole to go all the way through this, and I need to drill it from the front side because it's going to step down. It needs to be larger and then step down a little bit. So to do so, I need to mark it with the front face into the leg itself, and then I can position this so that there's an equal amount of overhang on each side of the leg, so it's perfectly centered on the leg. And then I can mark the top of the workbench location. Once I have the actual top location marked out, then I can measure down the appropriate distance for my screw hole. The holes were drilled just fine and the test fit looks really good, so before I actually attach the hardware, I'm going to shape this thing just a little bit. So I'm extremely pleased with the way that this leg vise is working. I did not put a parallel guide down at the bottom, so this spins freely, which isn't that big of a deal because gravity is going to keep it vertically the vast majority of the time. And if it does spin just a little bit more than what you'd like, you could use your thumb to hold the jaw steady as you're pushing, as you're advancing the screw. Not a big deal at all. Something I did not want to do, which again isn't really that big of a deal, but I didn't want to do it, is make a parallel guide to go through the bottom leg of the workbench and then adjust the pin every time I needed to adjust the pin. There's a much simpler approach, much more simple approach that I read online. I can't take credit for the idea. It's just to use a wedge down at the bottom. I read it on a blog post from Christopher Schwarz, and he said that he accidentally used a wedge one day and it works. So there's no rhyme or reason to the shape of the wedge that I chose. It's just a simple wedge shape. And I wanted to be able to pull it out just as easy as I could kick it forward. So I put a couple nails, 2 nails driven about 1/4 of an inch proud of the surface. That way I kick it forward as needed, stick my foot on top of the nails, and it pulls back very easily. So I can adjust the parallel of this vise without bending down to adjust the pin. if I was to use the pin system. So it's very easy to use. It's very strong. I'm very impressed with how strong this vise is. And going for a wider piece of material, simply means kicking the wedge a little bit further. So yeah, I'm just very impressed and pleased with the way that this leg vise turned out. So the workbench is done, the vices are done, and I'm just like a kid in a candy store right now. I'm so excited. I'm very happy with each one of these vices. They are all unique in their own right. Do you need 3 vices on a workbench? No, technically speaking, you don't need any. There's ways to hold stuff down without it. However, anyone who has used a vise on a workbench knows that they're extremely handy to have. So the only thing that I haven't done so far is to drill the dog holes, and you're not missing anything there. It's just drilling 3/4 inch holes. I haven't drilled them yet because I'm not exactly sure how far in from the side that I will put them on, but definitely going to drill dog holes and maybe a couple of holes for holdfasts on this side. Not exactly sure, but when the time comes, like I said, it's just drilling a 3/4 inch hole. So I still have to make the cabinet that goes down below. I'll cover that in the next video. That's it for this one. You guys take care. Thanks for watching and have a great day.